in that he matches Johnny extremely well. It's difficult to do those shows. More difficult than this. Because here I can talk about how difficult it is to do those shows.
But, you know, in a way, this show is hard for a comedian because there's no live audience.
Yes, but I feel that while I like to be witty, that you and I have broached some subjects and breached them.
Yes, badly.
And we've tossed around some polysyllabic words. I think the last time you used the word milieu.
Did I use that word?
Either you or Tony Kubek, I'm not sure.
But
yes, Tony
probably,
here. He misses it when the season's over. They're hard to do because you're going on as a comedian. You're not going on as Johnny Mathis, who can tell a story about his dog. And it could be a mild story, not very funny, but Johnny Mathis is Johnny Mathis. You're fascinated to see him. The talk show was invented by NBC, actually, that kind of network, the Tonight Show, to see performers and others in a context in which you would not ordinarily see them. And, of course, that proved to be false pretty soon. It isn't a living room. And, you know, there's practically a proscenium arch, and there are millions watching. Tough.
What were your favorite shows to watch as a kid? What TV shows influenced you?
Well, Honeymooners then and now. I mean, I memorized the lines. I loved seeing the Lost episodes. Lucy, when I was younger, not when I was older. But Show of Shows, almost every comedian. Ed Sullivan's show, which I eventually did. I did 6 times at the end of the run. Boy, was that tough. That's live.
What was Sullivan like at that point?
Complete walking coma. He was rich, influential, was a writer, I'm told. He was his brother-in-law, his son-in-law, Bob Precht, class guy. He was never mean to me or anything, Mr. Sullivan. I just failed to see how that worked. But, you know, for example, I'm going to be on the Ed Sullivan Show. I'm incredibly nervous, right? He says, now listen, Ed will turn you the wrong way, he said. So fight him on that. He'll want to turn you towards the audience, but the camera we're using is over here, so don't let him. So here I am. It's my first time. It's only Ed's 4,000th time. And he goes, from the Bronx, very good. I don't even attempt to make an imitation. He goes, and he poses, come here, young fella. And I'm going like this, like one of those toy hockey games. You know, the one in the penny game? People said, were you wrestling with that? What happened to him? What happened to you? You know, they're telling me the story. It was scary because it was all live, not to mention exotic circus chihuahuas nipping at your ankles backstage, a sword swallower warming up, a dancer doing pliés, chorus girls. It was real showbiz, live TV, murder. And America got tired of it after a while. That was important to me. I saw all those comedians. Bill Coe and Honeymooners were my all-time favorite sitcoms and still remain so.
Did you really enjoy seeing the Lost episodes? The Lost episodes, as a guy who, like you, has memorized virtually every line of the 30-odd ones that have been running for the last 30 years, the Lost episodes disappointed me. I didn't like the way Jackie Gleason looked. He was too thin, and with the lighting, he looked almost sinister.
Well, I will answer that by saying it's too bad they didn't keep them for archivists like us only, because they aren't as good, because it was a work in progress.
Yep.
And you see television history before your very eyes. Originally, Perk Kelton, then Audrey, drop dead. Yeah, you'll be drinking a few tonight, won't you? Like last night. Well, in the 39 for CBS, they get drunk on grape juice. Here they are, 2 proletarians, a sewer worker and a bus driver who don't down one, you know, or play the numbers or anything. So everything was toned down, and they never said, drop dead anymore with that rough edge. It was all more genteel.
There was something dark and threatening about it.
But you saw many of the same themes. Him witnessing a crime, the Raccoons Convention, all that. And the themes were refined later on. Continue to watch them, because there are many. And it'll be like looking into a living cell. I felt the same way about the Chaplin footage uncovered for the first time last year of outtakes, which he sealed up. You know, this is many years after his death, where you see him, the bit doesn't work, and he throws his cane, and goes, cut, cut, you know, and gets pissed off, and, you know, it's wonderful to see him as a living, working human being. And this was happening there. Gleason, who, one of 2 people in the show business that ever passed me right by, I was on the bill with them. I said, it was the Tony Awards, Mr. Fonda, I'm Robert Klein. You were New Faces of 1932. I was in the last one, and it went right by me. Jackie Gleason did the same. I worship his work. I think it's wonderful work. He was a true genius. A true genius.
Is there any chance that it might have been a misunderstanding, or do you think he just consciously said, I can't be bothered with this guy, I'm the great one?
John Springer, the wonderful press agent, said, Bob, I ain't fond of my friend. You have to know Springer. This is an esoteric impression, you know, like doing my Uncle Melvin. You don't know him. Springer said he was a wonderful man, and I'm sure he didn't hear you. Not important. What I'm saying is I never met Gleason. I got to meet Carney, Museum of Broadcasting thing. He's just about equal in a sense, except he wasn't entrepreneurial. As a performer, gifted, and an ego like Gleason knew how great he was, and gave him full length. I'd like to also say he's a very happy man in his old age now, remarried a former wife. They're in love, he doesn't drink, and it was a pleasure to meet him.
Robert Klein, tonight on Later.
Stay tuned. Later will return in a moment.
Back with Robert Klein. Now, you were in The Owl and the Pussycat, not the featured performer that was Streisand and George Segal, but further down on the bill than Robert Klein was an interesting young woman.
Yeah. Oh, she was really far down. Buck Henry wrote 4 additional parts or so for the movie. It was really a 2-character play on Broadway. And there's some funny scenes where Barbra Streisand and George Segal have in my apartment. And I'm supposed to be a single guy who works in the bookstore with George, and I'm in bed with a woman, you know, blonde, because she slept over, my girlfriend or whatever. She doesn't have a speaking role. And the girl who had the part wasn't there on time, some model they sent. So this stand-in for me said, hey, my friend's coming down. She's a model and actress, blah, blah, blah. She comes in, Herb Ross, the director, says, I'll look at her. And she's a beautiful girl, a high school senior, 18 years old, named Marilyn Briggs. So she did it. We had underwear on. There was no sex in it, no lovemaking. I remember she said, oh, my father will kill me when he sees this. I said, why? There's no nudity or anything. It was, well, he's very strict. Turned out, I found out years later, it was Marilyn Chambers. I helped her with her homework. No, actually, I slept with her.
Was there actual sleeping going on? Did you nod off?
No, what happened is I felt, gee, I'm 29 and she's 18. I was a fool. I was single. What's wrong with that? She was of legal age. And finally, she was very gentle, seemed like a sweet person. She said, you want to ball me or not, man? It's up to you. So I felt completely emasculated, deflated, and it was quite forgettable. I noticed over the years, I was told by Buck Henry, there was a scorecard. Many of people associated with that movie had a similar experience. No, I didn't know Buck Henry and I were sharing a dressing room downstairs for That Was the Year That Was, which took a year, a few years ago, a live thing. And I have the New Republic and he has the Times. It's like a men's club. We were the only intellectuals on the show. Gave him my New Republic, gave me his Times. Oh, you didn't know? That's Marilyn Chambers, you know, with Buck's droll delivery. I said, what? You know. Anyway, she said in a Playboy interview that I had been very kind to her. That was technically her first movie. Since then, though, some naughty things. Put it this way, I'm glad you're not my sister, but it's your business.
What's the deal with you and the harmonica?
It's a good story, isn't it?
It's a hell of a story.
The deal is I have one here.
You have the harmonica with you?
I don't know. I learned a long time ago. This particular one, it's a kind of a German monopoly, their Hohner. This is up to about 20 bucks, and they're very relaxing. I use it in my work a lot, and got a little bit of an ID from it. You know, people recognize it. The greatest thrill I had was, with respect to the harmonica, was playing with Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee at the bitter end in the Village. Those of you who don't know, they were a long-time team of old black men. Brownie, still alive, was lame with a high shoe, played the guitar, and Sonny, who was totally blind, played the harmonica. He's on the original cast album of Finian's Rainbow, the first one to really popularize the sound of the sucking blues, like, instead of blowing out, you go, you know, you draw in. Yeah. And backstage, they'd be drinking scotch and milk, and I'd say, hey, river, they call each other river. And I'd say, why do you call each other rivers? Because it goes on and on. They hate each other anyway. Hated each other, their agent told me. it's gotten me things. And so, when my first Broadway show in Boston, I was a pup, a kid. Mike Nichols directed Apple Tree. Everyone was single. 13 people in the company were in Boston, out of town. I'm staying at the Avery Hotel, which, you know, has a nice sign, "Suicides Welcome," at the desk next to the American
But you
Express.
don't want to turn down any sort of business.
Like a Target in the courtyard. And they said, this is a real awful place. Where we stayed, and Mike Nichols was at the Ritz, but that was years ago. And there was a stripper that was in the place. Lisa Costello, her name was, I think. Maybe it wasn't. And I couldn't, and I tried to impress her. I was like a kid. And she invited me into a room, and I don't think she was real interested in me. And then I took out my harmonica and I went. She said, "Ooh, I like that." I went, you like the harmonica? She went, "Yeah." I went. She said, "Ooh," I went. There was arterial damage in my lip. It had to be reconstructed afterwards. So, what it's gotten me, you know, marvelous.
Other than Lisa?
This is my imitation of the soundtrack at the end of a PBS documentary on South Carolina prisons. You know, they say when they thank you. "Get me out of here." I didn't do it. My special thanks to Warden Johnson, Joe Hankins, and so on. And, whoa! Special thanks to Myrna Jacobson for being a special assistant to the producer. There's many harmonica pieces. It's a wonderful way to fend off loneliness, Bob.
You know what's your greatest harmonica bit, at least the best known, is "I Can't Stop My Leg."
Well, it requires a large orchestra, of course, but it happened once at the Improv, which is really where I started. It was the only game in town, 44th and 9th, still there. There's a lot of clubs now, but and I used to get up and Danny Aiello would get up and sing behind. I did improvs with Richard Pryor, who was well advanced by that time. Danny was the bouncer, you know, sort of. And he stood up there. But I just did this, and one time it came to me, what's the opening line? "I can't stop my leg!" And it brought the house down. It was a blackout when it started, and it became a big song. And my theme song, as a matter of fact.
Get your lyric sheets? That's all right, just follow the bouncing Jew.